good topic.
Welcome to the Education Talk Show with Jeremy Brooks, weekly recess. We are so excited for you to be joining us live in the Brooks Broadcasting Studio, Studio 24. Hey, listen, we've got an incredible show for you tonight. We've got an amazing guest. We've got our senior education contributors, and we've been super excited about this show all week. We're going to go ahead and cover some of the week's biggest education headlines. We're going to cover... We actually took from last week. There was still some stuff left over that we wanted to cover on barriers to education and breaking those. So we're going to cover those as well. But we want to start off and introduce our cast tonight. So again, help me with welcoming them. Make sure to send comments, questions, and again, we will answer those live over the air. So we're going to start off real quick with Tony G. Briefly, a little bit about yourself in case we've got members of the audience who are, watching the show for the first time.
All right, Jeremy. So recently retired mental health teacher in the high school level. I've done that 15 years. And, now Uber driver extraordinaire and also stand-up comic. And so pursuing my dreams, but also I'm here on this podcast to share my experiences in mental health and just trying to bring the world closer together. And that's my spiel.
Awesome. We love you and happy you're on the show and that you're doing your thing. And I love your Uber videos. They're fun. And your stand-up comedy, of course, too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also, we have Dr. Dwight Rogers in the house. And he's got an amazing book, too. We got his book back there, but want to share a little bit real quick?
Absolutely. Hey, hello. I missed you. I wasn't here last week. Dr. Rogers, a.k.a. Administrator of the Year for Region 7, AXA. Remember, if you're not a part of AXA, you're missing out. Been an educator for 30 years, and in that 30 years, I've learned a lot, built a lot of great relationships, and I'm equity-focused in a lot of the work that I do. I'm really loving this journey that I'm on and hoping to just bring some of that expertise to this show and share it with you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Rogers. And without further ado, I want to mention this real quick. We had somebody, people are excited you're on the show. We got
nice.
Cookie Williams, and she's a stand-up comic, but somebody actually approached my wife today and they said, hey, by the way, your show, you got a comedian on the show tonight? I was like, yeah, we do. Cookie Williams, hello. And so anyway, we were so excited to have Cookie Williams on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you. My Uber driver, Tony, brought me here. Said that was the only way I was going to get home.
She got a tip, 5 stars too.
I'm a local comedian at the 209. I frequent a lot, Deaf Puppy in Manteca.
Okay.
That's my club. I love that club. But I'm out here following my dreams. I quit my job to follow my dreams, and it's gotten me really far. And I have so many big things coming up, and I would have never got there if I didn't have the faith to, follow that. And
That's right.
I'm here just to have a good time and talk on topic with you guys.
Yeah. And by the way, she actually, she's got a lot of cool stuff happening. She was just on the news recently.
I was on the news in the Bay Area. They had a little hot seat like this, asked a couple questions, and it was a fun time. Yeah.
Nice.
And I got to say, Jeremy, because I've been doing comedy now 12 years. Oddly enough, I haven't broken through yet. We were just talking about Taylor Tomlinson and how I did, some work with. She probably doesn't remember me, but I remember her, and she's big now.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot of great comics come up through this area. Saul Trujillo, he's out at the Comedy Store. Cookie Williams is going to be somewhere, and I'm vying to be her manager, by the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I know a winner. And so, again, I can vouch. I think I got street cred now. I'm a comic going for it too. And so,
This guy's been singing your praises for like weeks.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man.
I told her, I said, yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I did want to ask you though. You know, I tell people, you know, our show it's an education show. Of course, we got teachers, school administrators, all that stuff on the show, but it's also for parents. It's for students. It's for, you know, those people out there that, you know, you don't even have to be a part of education specifically. At some point, everybody's been a student. They've been a parent and, you know, maybe a coach and
Right.
maybe, you know, and the thing is too, I know right now we got, sports is really gearing up because we're back at school. And,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're a parent, of course.
I am. I have 2 children, and you know, sometimes you like one more than the other. Sometimes it's neither one, but I love them both. Yeah, and my son, he plays sports. He's my stepson, and he called me on a Thursday. He asked me to, "Hey, Mom, can you come to my game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, when is it?" And he told me it's Saturday at 7 a.m.
Oh,
Right, because he's not that good. And I'm like,
oh,
I was like, oh man, but I like his dad, so I don't want to. So I say yes, and I get to the game, and when I get there, I notice he's sitting on the bench. I'm like, I know I didn't wake up this early for this, you know. And throughout the game, he's sitting there. I'm watching you guys as kids play, and I realized like I'm raising a coach. I should have a clipboard and a whistle.
Mastermind.
And halfway through the game, he's trying to get my attention. I'm like, what? I'm trying to watch the other kids play. He's like, Mom, can you give me a Gatorade? I'm like, a Gatorade? You didn't even use no electrolytes. You know? And I'm not even sure what those are, but like, I know you don't use none sitting on the bench, you know? So I'm just, you know, watching these kids grow and go through it as a parent, you know, try and cheer them on. And sometimes it's like, oh, like, you know, you gotta force yourself.
hey, that's a good life lesson.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good one. You know, Jeremy, what you was talking about with, you know, parents and teachers and everyone else, that's the equity piece. You know, getting everyone's voice and everyone's opinion.
Yes.
You know, because when you are making decisions, when you are trying to move initiatives, all of these things takes everyone to have an input. And, you know, parents, and like you said, you know, the community has to be able to be a part of that decision-making process. Otherwise, you get pushed back and you get people feeling excluded, and we don't want that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, I mean, it's not easy, of course, being a parent, right? And I mean, sometimes it, you know, there's the old saying, the old adage, it takes a village, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why it is. I totally agree with you. It's so critical that we have, especially as educators, you know, our school leaders out there, that we, you know, solicit that input from our parents, from our community, from everybody, because we don't always have the answer, right?
Right.
But if we open up and hear different perspectives, you know, we can learn something, and it's going to make, at the end of the day, what are we here for? To make education better for our students, right?
Correct.
And so, yeah, thank you for that. And again, this is going to be an exciting show. Again, it's a packed show. We want to thank everybody for watching the show. And we're going to start off. So we've got our news segment. We like to start off and bring you the weekly news. And so we have some interesting stories this week that we are going to be covering today. And I can't wait to get your input on this. So, you know, Kim Kardashian, we love her, right? Kardashians. She was in the news, though, this week, just a couple days ago. And I'm just going to kind of read what happened here. So she was on a live stream show, and she said something that kind of, you know, lit a firestorm on the internet. She said that she doesn't believe in homework. Her reason: kids already spend 8 hours in school. When they get home, they should have time for sports, family, just being kids. She says that homework should stay in school. And, you know, it's interesting because it was really mixed. You know, there were some that supported that idea of no homework. There was some that were like, no, we need homework. It teaches life lessons and things. And, you know, honestly, it's an interesting topic. And so I wanted to just kind of get your input on this. We'll talk about this. I've got some questions for you. We're going to start off. I got Tony G right here. I mean, you've graded more homework than you can probably, you know, care to remember, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, looking back now, do you think, you know, Kim has a point regarding homework? I mean, is it a good thing? Is it something that maybe we ought to reconsider?
Yeah, that's tough because again, I taught special ed, you know, for so long that the question, I mean, that's like a different world where you're talking about general education. So you have to ask the question like, well, you start making the rigor, you know, get lower and you stop having homework, the public outcry is, well, what happens when they get a real job? They're not going to work overtime, or they're not going to be able to show up at this time. And that's like, I sat in so many IEP meetings like that where you're sitting there wondering, like, I can't say for sure. So I do feel for her, because you have to, I think this asks the question, start to get everybody's kids, get them evaluated, get checked in for any learning disabilities, things like that. Because homework really, I don't know. I've never seen a lot of teachers like really throwing the books at kids anymore. It's not like in the old days where you had 3-4, you expect 3 hours of homework every night, 4 hours, you know, like, it's really not like that. But again, I shouldn't say that. It's not like that for everybody.
Yeah. Well, the emphasis used to be, when I was in high school, you had 7 classes and each teacher assigned a certain amount of homework. There was a huge emphasis on homework back then. I don't know if it made me a better student. I mean, I just don't know if it really served its purpose. I did it. You know, I did my homework. But again, I mean, I don't know if it's for everybody. We're going to go to, and I got another question for you. We'll come back. And then we're going to go to Cookie. But I wanted to go to Dr. Dwight Rogers here. I mean, from an equity standpoint, right? Since not every student has the same help at home or the same resources, the same, you know, a quiet place to study. Right. I mean, is assigning homework fair?
You know, you made a good point. You know, the whole equity piece, is it fair for everyone to have the same opportunity, you know, and homework. School is not the same way it used to be. You know, when I went to school back in the 70s, you know, you had just school, you come home, you do those things. But now what's in school that's really pushed now? Mental health, NTSS. You have all of these different layers of trauma that you have to deal with the student. And when you examine the whole child, whole family, whole community, you have to reassess, because you can't ask for everything to remain the same. You know, we look at education quite differently than we did before. So why should homework be the same thing, or why should homework be looked upon in the same way it was, you know, 25 years ago? So I think that's where the difference comes in. You're adding other dimensions to a student's school day, and homework is something that you can get while you're in school. You know, you have intervention teachers, you have, you know, pull-out sessions, you have all of these different layers that you didn't have before. So I think homework gets, you know, is a little bit different, looked at differently than it is now. Yeah, good points.
And real quick, and we're going to go to here, and then I'll go back to you. But I got one follow-up question. MTSS, Dr. Rogers, for our non-educators out there, education, guests watching the show or audience, what is MTSS?
Well, when you're looking at multiple tiers of intervention, you're looking at the different services that you provide for students. Like, for example, if you have students who need social emotional type of assessment needs, or if you have students who need academic services, if you have students who need just a little bit extra coaching, it's those layers that you provide those students with, so they can get that assistance with getting through their school day successfully. We want to getting through their school day successfully. We want, what does that student provide them with that? And that's where the equity layer comes in. So I know there's, like Tony was talking about IEPs, so we're going to throw a lot of jargon out there. And I think one of the good things about school is now we have different books and binders put together so it can explain it to parents on what are these acronyms or what are these initials for, because we don't want people being confused.
Yes. Thank you for that. Cookie, I got a question for you. If homework had been banned when you were a kid in school, what would a younger Cookie have done with all that free time?
We were outside kids, so I would have probably just been outside even longer.
Hey, those were the days, right? When you didn't have the phone, you're outside. You had to figure out, if you were bored, You know, you had to
yeah.
figure. You couldn't go to mom and dad and say, "Hey, I'm bored."
No, they got something for you. Oh, you bored? Oh,
I'll give you something to do.
Yeah.
You was cleaning stuff you didn't even know needed to be clean. Like I didn't know what a baseboard was until the day I found out I was bored. You know, I was like, people don't do this. Like, what is this? And I was like, no, this is board work.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
So
That's
my
learned
dad
that,
gave me
yeah.
the light fixtures. I would clean, and I was like, really? No one's been coming over yet.
I learned not to be bored. That was like a bad word in the house.
Right,
I
you
was
learn
like,
words like
yeah. Mom, I'll be back. Like, you know, I'm gonna go back outside. I'll figure something out. You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather sit outside and clean baseboards again.
That's so funny. Now, I mean, and I wanted to come back to you too on this one. You know, do you think Kim? You know, do you think her comments are is it just noise, or could we kind of be pushed a little bit as educators to rethink this whole homework policy thing? I mean, you're a parent. I mean, kids have sports. You got a child that's got sports
Right.
going. Families have a lot more sort of in their schedule nowadays. Is it good to give kids a break so they could be a part of the family, so they could do dinner, do chores, do the family thing? And,
Right. I mean, there was a day my daughter, we had a great weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everybody had a good attitude. We had a great time. We were out and about, just in the moment. It was a great weekend, but we didn't do anything spectacular. But I just remember it because we were just so happy and with what we were doing. Well, Monday comes and we stayed out late. It was about we got home around 11 p.m.
Oh, man.
on a Sunday, and I looked at my daughter and I'm like, "There's no way she's gonna be able to go to sleep and wake up at 6 a.m. and be productive in class. And it's gonna take away from the classroom. The teacher's always gonna be like, "Hey, wake up, Mackenzie, wake up." So I called and said, "Hey, I need to call my daughter in there. What's the reason?" I said, "To be honest, she's not sick." I was like, "She had such a great weekend. She's gonna be a distraction in class." And the operator who answered was like, "Hey, I just want to say thank you." And hey, I appreciate you, because there's times you call in and they're mad at that. You know, you calling in for your kid, and it's like, hey, they don't feel good today. You know, but when it goes to the homework, I think the same thing. You know, they wake up about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. They go have this day at school, and even though we think it's easy, it's hard for them.
Right.
Just like we
Yes.
have hard days at work. This is their work, you know? So then they come home and it's like, oh, what's the first thing I want you to do? I want you to just sit down and learn more. And it's like, where's the break? You know,
Yes.
where's the
You
break?
made a very good point. You know, when students get to that point where they're in AP classes, let's say, imagine a student has 4 or 5 honors classes and they have all of this homework, right?
Yeah.
Then it becomes that competition thing.
Right.
And I've seen so many students get stressed out,
Yeah.
you know, and become so, you know, bothered, and they lose their childhood because they are in such, I guess, such a hurry to kind of just be in the moment of education and academics, so much
Right.
so that it takes away from them being a human being. They lose what? Social skills.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking too, I mean, because again, it's always like, how can we be diplomatic? Well, why not? Let's try, you know, stagger it again, do 2 days. Okay, we're going to do 2 days, no homework, but then Wednesday's homework, Thursday, no homework. Friday, you're going to have homework because you got that X amount of days, and see how that works, you know, because, you know, there's something to be said about both, right? But with all the stimuli now, with social media, with devices, that light, they say it's not good for your eyes to be staring all the time. And then say, go home now, get on that computer again, start working.
Yeah.
This is a true story. I was at Sac State finishing my my econ degree, and this girl was just brilliant, and she was always so stressed about where's accounting class, and she just fainted from the stress.
Yeah.
So again, back to the mental health, back to understanding more about how people all learn, and not everyone is the same pace. We have to figure out better ways.
Can I add?
No, go ahead. Yeah,
that,
please.
I'm the type of person that, who am I, like when I was working and I was in charge, who am I to talk to somebody like this and tell them what they have to do if I don't want to do it? So with that said, it's like they come home, and if 4 o'clock hits and I get to close my laptop and go, hey, I'm done with work until tomorrow. why do we have to say, oh, school's over now, unzip your backpack and do more? They don't get to leave it zipped and go, hey, I ain't got to worry about that till tomorrow, but we get to do that, and we're saying,
that's such a
it's
good
not
point.
too much for
We,
them.
not me.
Or, well, not we, but I'm saying as adults. Yeah.
Well,
I'm saying
Dr.
as
Rogers
adults.
is busy,
Adult-
but
yeah.
I wanted, and I wanted to. Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a
Right.
little bit here, and I got a question for you, and then we're gonna go to you too. But I mean, one of the things, teachers, you got a lot going on in the curriculum,
Yeah.
right? And you were a teacher before, a
Right.
long time ago. You were a teacher. It could be tough to kind of get through the units, to get through all the stuff that has to be covered in the span of time you have. One of the opportunities is, hey, you know what? Enrichment. We didn't get to this section of the unit today, or in class during the lesson. Take this stuff, go ahead and do it at home. The other thing too, people say that it does build, like, again, some say this, some say, it builds skills where students have to be organized and they have to manage, their own, personal responsibility, do stuff outside of class, and it can reinforce learning that you did during the day. But I wanted to, and so that's devil's advocate here, but I wanted to ask, and, Dr. Rogers, something on this too, real quick. Do you think that, again, we talked about the equity piece on this. Do you think that those educators, though, do they have a point, the ones that make those arguments about this will help us to keep moving along, getting through the curriculum, getting through all the stuff?
Absolutely.
We're going to come over here after we're
Because
done.
not only with the work that you give, now a teacher has to grade that work.
That's true.
Right? And so then you have, how much time do they have to really focus on grading that work and then keeping students on pace? And if you remember, schools used to be where the desk used to be straight up and down in the rows.
Yep.
And now when you go into most classrooms, what do you see? They're in, pods. They're together. You're building communities. So it can shared learning, right? So you have different opportunities to learn and teach.
True.
So it takes away from, you have to do this at home. Because you want to check for understanding. You want to have the students master that skill or master that lesson. And if you do that, then going home is an option. For me being a parent, I would have my kids do their work, at home, because I wanted to make sure that they understood it. But if they understood it, I leave them alone. Because as long as they understood the work and they can master the work, then great. But I know this is a different topic, but with AI coming into the fold, and it reduces time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are scared and afraid of what AI does. However, again, we're looking for checking for mastery of the work. Do you understand what you're writing? Do you understand what you're reading? How well is your comprehension? So as you go through, you are helping students really grab hold of that knowledge in such a way that it's different than it was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So we as adults have to kind of change and say, well, then what's best for students? What's best for kids? Because at the end of the day, when they graduate, how competent are they?
Yeah.
Are they ready for the real world?
So many good points. I wish I could tackle every single one of those. I love it. I wanted to ask you, if you were still in the classroom, how long do you think it would be before a student came to you and said, Mr. G, Kim K said, homework is no good, right?
Yeah, no. I have the privilege.
I mean, what do you?
Because you know he gonna
I mean, that's something.
Because you can see that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, honestly, that's a real thing that happened. That really happened. I learned a lot about social media through my kids. You know? But I think it's not one easy answer for everybody, but you do have to take consideration about every kid's is different, and so if you can't accept that, then that's where you run into problems. And for me, I had it. We were just talking, me and Cookie, about like coming up in school and how we behaved and stuff, and we were both clowns, surprise, right? And I had to get it together because I went to St. Anthony's. This is
You went to the nice school, right?
Well, what's so weird is all the public schools called us Satan worshipers when we walked home. Hey, Satan, and it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
'Cause I thought, wait, but that's not even the right team, But that's a sidebar to this story. So if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you couldn't play basketball or football or whatever. So and we had a year where again we were in teacher transition.
Yeah.
And so all the boys, we were the best team. Okay. We beat everybody. And then playoff came. We didn't have the marks, right?
Yeah.
So why am I saying that? Well, with homework and stuff like that, like a football player, they're motivated to make grades.
Absolutely.
You're in the band, you're motivated. Okay, what about all those kids that don't have anything? Now here's where my heart's tugged, because I had a lot of these kids that they didn't have these opportunities that all these other kids had.
Right.
And so they should have the same, expectations. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's tough because these kids, again, aren't going home to stability sometimes. And so how do we motivate these kids? That's the $1 million question.
And to add to that and what you were saying, some of these kids, including myself, are some of these kids are left home and they don't have anybody that they get frustrated with the homework and they have nobody to ask, like, for help, and they have nobody checking it. So it's like, as nice as my children have it, to have me and their father there and checking and helping or trying to answer a question, some of these kids don't have it. And then the next day she's like, oh, I have my homework. But the little kid who didn't have that help is not as prideful in turning that in when they didn't have nobody to ask a question to.
Right.
I love that. I love that. And hey, do you guys remember though, when we were younger, like if you didn't have help for like the math problem and mom and dad couldn't help you or you couldn't get help, I mean, you were calling the homework hotline. You guys remember the homework hotline?
Man.
Hoping that, dialing over and over again and they don't pick it up. So then you're just in trouble.
You out here
The answer's
stressing.
not in the back of the book.
See, I didn't even know about that, which is why I got C's.
My sister was a year older than me, and I'm like, "Do you remember this question?" She's like, "Just put whatever." Like,
Hey, but when we were younger, I mean, the struggle was a lot more real. If you didn't have the help, like AI now, we talked about AI.
Right.
There's, the computer. You could go online and find resources. I mean, back when we were younger, if you didn't have that support at home, you were really in trouble and missing out, right? Okay, so Dr. Rogers talked about AI. You brought up some AI thing there. I just brought it up again, but I wanted to talk about AI because there was an op-ed article in the Wall Street Journal. They ran a piece where college students debated the impact of AI in education. And it's interesting because the opinions were all over the place. And I'm coming to you here next.
Right.
So some students argued that chatbots, I'm going to read this real quick. Chatbots are making us overly dependent on instant answers.
Right.
We're over reliable or relying too much on instant answers. They said AI smooths out all the homework of learning, or the hard work of learning, but no more rough drafts, no more hours in the library. And we're losing the struggle that actually builds creativity, passion, and resilience. So, I want to go to you, Dr. Rogers, on this to start us off. Some students in the article said AI is amazing for basic schoolwork, but they struggle on deeper stuff now. Creative problems, critical thinking. These are college students saying, I'm relying on this too much, and now it's impacting me. I'm seeing this struggle. So do you think this means that schools need to rethink what kinds of assignments we give for students, because they might go and rely on AI to do their homework or to write their essay or to, do we need those opportunities to build creativity and critical thinking and problem solving?
Well, I think, again, we are thinking of 25, 30 years ago of how school used to be.
right.
We have to understand that we are unwrapping what technology and what school can look like. And we as adults and we as a people who are the gatekeepers now have to kind of think, what can school look like? Yes, it can definitely cripple a mind. It can definitely make things a lot easier to make people lazier. However, now let's use this AI or tools to say, what can we do now to advance this work? How can we teach students to use critical thinking skills in ways in which they didn't before?
Yes.
And it causes us to kind of shift our thinking. But I think we sometimes we can be stuck in what we are used to.
Yeah.
That technology is making us think of ways in which we have to now help students learn. And let's be honest, You know, when you have older adults who are afraid of technology,
Yeah.
they don't want to touch it because
Yeah.
the kids know it more than the adults.
They do.
You think about the pandemic for a minute when everything went online. Who were the ones who were struggling the most online?
Right.
A lot of the older teachers.
Yeah.
A lot of the older teachers
Yeah.
because they weren't used to online platforms. So as learners, we have to kind of understand that education is changing. And as education changes, we must embrace these differences and understand that there are opportunities that we haven't tapped into yet.
Yeah.
Don't mean that it can't cripple us or cripple kids because yes, it can make them lazy. It says, okay, well, I'm going to just figure this answer out. But if you can help a student go deeper with it and help them use it for their advantage, hey, you know what? I didn't even think of these things before.
Yeah.
Now that you have a line of thinking that you didn't have before, what can you do with it?
Yeah.
You know, let's go deeper with it. So it causes us to be more innovative as teachers and educators.
And there's possibly a way too where we could maybe use AI to our advantage to maybe narrow gaps in learning in ways that we haven't even thought about
Absolutely.
to, you know, make sure that, you know, we've got MTSS, we talked about that, but to maybe provide more interventions or resources for students, of course. So there's definitely pros and cons of it, of course. I wanted to go over to Tony G, and then we're going to come right over here. Tony, I mean, you've seen, you know, plenty of students try to dodge the homework, right? We talked about that, I imagine. You know, is AI just, you know, the newest shortcut, or do you think it's actually a game changer?
I mean, I can't believe, you know, when I first heard, I was one of those naysayers, right? Just, oh, it's just, you know, making you lazy and whatnot. And then now I'm a big promoter of it. I mean, I know plenty of people in the business at all levels that use it for emails. Okay. And why not, if you want your voice to come across to your audience the way you want it to become, right? Again, I said we're all different, right? So what I write or say, let's get real. When I talk to my wife in a certain way, she may not like that. Okay. So I've been in these email chains where they get a little hot and heavy. And how nice is that to have a tool? Please say this. I don't want to be fired. Say, you know, and then there comes your email, and then you send that back out to the team, right? Why not? But again, here's what I feel that you got to protect is the reading, writing, math skills.